So, having owned a PeaBee for 100 hours, would I go back and buy another one knowing what I know now? So hi everyone and welcome to the channel, and today is probably quite a momentous video for me really, and it's looking at 100 hours of owning a PeaBee and all the fun and games. So I'll probably drop in and drop out of other bits and pieces, and I'll probably give you some thoughts on the bench about how much I've enjoyed it or not enjoyed it, or the bits I found unique and I've had to work around. But my PeaBee is now, pretty much at 100 hours over the last just under 3 years, and I don't think that's too bad for an aircraft where I've been flying other aircraft as well. And it's had several upgrades over the time. It's got a lovely hydro-dipped front wheel, it's got the brake, it's got the new wheels, and there's been many other videos that I've done that have covered all the bits and pieces on this. So if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link up here or in the description as to what I've done over the time of this aircraft. Do I still like my PeaBee? Without a doubt, yes. Of all the aircraft I've been flying since I've been instructing, I still come back to the PeaBee. It still makes me smile and I still enjoy flying it, and it puts that silly grin on my face when I go fly. So today is a very important day, and something I've learned through my RAF career is what we call preventative maintenance. So I'm coming up to the point of 100 hours, I'm coming to the 100-hour point on the engine, and there are certain things that you need to do. So what I'm going to be doing today is ripping the engine off the aircraft. First time it's been off since it was manufactured at Flylight, and I'm going to be looking at replacing a few bits and pieces. Now, as I mentioned about doing preventative maintenance, there are things that should be done at this point which I'm not going to do because I did them earlier, or I'm at the point where I don't want to do it now and I will be doing that later on. But I've noticed with the plug it's a slightly lighter colour, which means there's certain things I want to look at and give a check over. So today is ripping the engine off, and I'm going to be replacing the drive shaft. Well, I think something's missing. I think it's that. Well, that's the first time the engine's been off. Well, engine's off. I've just realised I've got my works clothes on, so apologies if that feels like I'm branding, but it wasn't intentional today. And apologies for the mad hair look, if there is one. It's been definitely a hat on day in the hangar. Anyway, so the engine is now off on a little works trolley. I think it's on our little works trolley. And the main point I wanted to get across is that I want to, see if we can get some light on the situation. So there's certain things you can't get to while it's on the aircraft, and as you can see there's little splats of mud and other bits and pieces, and what I want to focus on is I want to get a good look at the starter. I want to take the starter off. I'm going to give that a good service, a good clean, see if the dogs need changing. Again, these are all preventative things that it's hard to do when it's on the machine. And you go, well, if I've got to take it off, I may as well go and check it all over thoroughly. So that's pretty much what this video is going to be about. It may be a multi-part, I don't know. It depends how long I faff with it at the minute. But the two oil seals that I want to change are these little brown... Oh, let's get some proper light on the situation. So the oil seals that I actually want to change are these two brown little oil seals here, and that's what they look like. Let's get them out of the packet, Giles, come on. So the main job I'm looking at today is replacing these two oil seals, and so that's what it looks on the outside, and that's what it looks like on the inside. You might just notice there's a little spring there. Now this inner ring sits on the drive shaft. Now I'm going to try and delicately turn my engine over without it falling over. So I'm not sure whether the camera will be able to see that. But if you look behind the drive belt, there's the brown oil seal, and that constantly sits against the turning drive shaft. Now if the drive shaft's turning, it's going to wear away. At 100 hours it recommends that you change these drive shaft seals, because they don't just seal dirt getting in, they also seal air getting in, because the crankcase holds the stoichiometric mix. So if you're getting extra air leak past those seals, it's going to change all your mixture. It doesn't matter what you do with the car, if you've got an air leak, you've got to get the air, you've got to basically make sure you don't get an air leak past that area. So it's at the time to change it. So engine off, starter off, and let's just have a very, very good look at our engine. So I don't know what I'm going to expect. I don't know the problems I'm going to get when I have to take it all apart. So that pinion needs to come off. Clearly the drive belt needs to come off. The starter at the back needs to come off. The starter engagement wheel needs to come off as well, so that I can get to that oil seal. So anyway, let's have a bit more fun and see how far we can get without breaking anything. So I'm definitely not trying to make this a step-by-step video, because it would just be embarrassing with my engineering, but there are plenty of videos out there to show you how to do all this. So I'll leave a link to them. They're either card up here at the moment, or I'll leave a link to some of the Scout Paramotor videos that talk through this extensively. But I'm just showing you the fun and games I'm having. I love sharing my journey, and this is part of it. For the good, for the bad, I'm sure there's people saying you should have done it differently, but guess what? I love learning along the way. And again, if it's my engine, that's all that matters. But say at the end of the day, and underneath, this is the flywheel, and you might notice there's a bit of a keyway there. And there's also a keyway there, so that keeps the timing aligned, so I haven't got to worry about redoing that. And to get this this timing wheel off and starter engagement wheel off, had to use those of days of old for the bike pedal removing tool. That's pretty much what it looks like, and that's what I bought to help get this off. I pre-planned all this. I bought this about a year ago, I think, just so that I had all the right tools. There's nothing worse than trying to do a job and not having the right tool to do it. So anyway, that threads into there, and then you just wind down on the bolt, and it pushes on that centre shaft and prizes it off, and it popped off quite nicely. So anyway, let's go and have a little bit more fun trying to get the pulley off on the front, which is drive belt off, etc. And then we'll see how that goes. It might be another job for another day, but as I say, right now I'm quite happy to proceed. Okay. As with all good plans, I've basically come to a stop this evening because I need a 3-leg puller. Now, as you can probably see, there's the lower drive shaft seal. Not sure how good the light is there. There's the lower drive shaft seal just under the pulley. Now, on the plus versions of the engine, this is where the clutch would sit. Now, this is the MOSTER Silent, which they don't make anymore. I think it's still a cracking engine, but so they don't make the MOSTER Silent anymore. And this pulley is directly onto the drive shaft, and it is an interference fit, so this will need to be heated as well to come off, and to obviously in a similar manner to go back on again, to basically cool one bit and heat the other, to expand one element and to shrink the other. Interference fit, once they go back to room temperature, they'll basically be locked solid, and that's the stage I'm at the moment, that if I try and take this off now, I'm going to damage something. So this is definitely one of those moments to not rush. So tonight I haven't got my 3-leg puller with me, and what I'm going to do is wait and go and get the right tools to do the job. So this is where the video ends for the moment, and join me when I've got the correct tools to carry on. So a quick interlude on the 100-hour service that I'm doing on the engine at the moment, and one of the things I'm looking at is the Vittorazi starter. Now, a lot of people have complained over the years that these aren't actually that good, but the thing is, you can't just use a starter and not expect to have to service it. Now, there were some bits in the bag. Now, they do a servicing kit for this starter. It's not very expensive, and it gives you all the bits that you need. And I wanted to actually show you that I've just checked the washers. Now, I'm not sure whether that will show it very well, but there's some creases in that, and there's the other washer. They've all got different thicknesses. There's 5 washers that come with it. There's also some creases. If we just see it there, there's some creases in that one as well. And you get a new funky spring, and you have to kind of remember the way it goes on. It will only work one way round, but these are known to fail as well. Now, for the very, very low cost of these parts, it doesn't take much to take it off and give it a good service and a good check. And the other thing I've done as well, and I can't find the bag at the moment, is I've actually changed the cord. Not a cord, there's the old cord. It was just starting to fray and looking a bit old and tired. Again, it's 100 hours, 3 years old. For the couple of quid it took to change that, it was no effort at all. Now, the other thing is, they call these the starter dogs. These are the bits that engage with the outer ring on the starter, on the flywheel. they were just, you can probably just see in the light there, they were just starting to wear. And so again, they're all part of the servicing kit, which is, I think it's less than £20 for the servicing kit. And so I now know my starter's in good health, and that's the benefit of being able to take it apart, look it over and check it over. And these things that we should be doing on our engines all throughout the life of it. So anyway, I'm still waiting for a few bits to arrive to carry on with the 100-hour servicing, but at least I know now my starter's in tip-top condition and ready to refit when I get to that stage of the rebuild. So everyone, a bit of a wrap up for the video, and hopefully there will be some pictures now of all the different stages that I've gone through. So I got so focused on actually doing the job, I forgot to vlog it, because the main part I wanted to focus on was getting all those bits and pieces done. As you can see, the machine is back on, the new seals are in, everything is back as specification on the Vittorazi manuals. If no one's actually seen where to get the information from, I'll leave a link or a screenshot now of where to get the information from, because the new workshop manuals for the Vittorazi are brilliant. I see on the forums all the time, what's the spec for this, what's the tension for this? Go to the Vittorazi website. They have updated and created some great manuals on how to service the different types of engines. Admittedly, this is a silent, and they didn't have the information on how to get this pulley off. It did require a 3-leg puller and a bucket load of heat to get it off, but when it went off, it went pop, and then is now back on at the correct torque specs. As you can see, I do remark everything when things go back on. Again, I've changed the engine mounts for fresh engine mounts. They are the thing that's holding your engine onto the aircraft. So don't see that changing them at 50 hours is a problem. See them at the fact they're actually holding your engine onto the aircraft. If you look at the video I did when I went on the Vittorazi maintenance course, you'll see the chap running the course who was literally trying to rip them off. That's what I did, and I started noticing surface cracks recently, so that was the point where I was going to change them. Anyway, everything's been cleaned, a nice little bit of ACF 50 to preserve the surface. You always get this lovely pitting on the exhaust, that's just the way it is. But the string on the starter's all been changed over, the starter's been serviced and is all back on nicely. The only thing I haven't done is a ground run. I haven't done a ground run yet on it, just to make sure it's running. Let's say everything from the spark plug. And talking about parts, there's a few bits here that are some of the bits I've changed, and the main point was these oil seals, drive shaft seals, sorry. And if they start to wear, that's what they look like. Ignore the fact I've drilled a hole, because that's how I was getting them out. There were signs of wear on the inside of those of where it's contacting the shaft. So so they have been thankfully changed for a new pair. So that's that pair. I've changed the rubber support for the airbox. The rope's been changed. The dogs on the starter and the washers have all been changed. Those mounts have been changed. Those mounts have been changed. I did notice that the gaskets on the carburettor were starting to look a bit worn, so and a bit basically for the cost of them I changed them anyway. New spark plug as well. The old one was as I say, 25 hours. It's worth changing it for the cost of a spark plug. But I have to give a really big shout out to Alan, who's one of the engineers that works here. He's one of the aircraft inspectors that inspects things like this. We're doing a 100-hour inspection on this C42, but he's lathed up a tool for me to be able to do these oil seals. If you look at the oil seal, that fits just outside of the seal, so when you're pushing it in, you can't push it too low. And also it's got the right diameter on the inside, it's blocked off at the top, and so they literally meant I could align the tool, press them down, tap them in place, and they fit perfectly, which meant the seals went in less than a minute for both seals, and I was so pleased with that. So Alan, big thank you for that tool, very much appreciated. So realistically, that's the 100 hours engine maintenance. But also, when I get a bit more daylight and it's not raining, I'm going to take all the covers off the aircraft, give it a good clean, inspect the bits that you don't always get to look at, which is what we should do every now and again on our aircraft. But I say, the aircraft, 100 hours. So, having owned a PeaBee for 100 hours, would I go back and buy another one knowing what I know now? Most definitely, this has been the most fun I've had for the money I spent. 3 years ago, I was umming and ahhing. I sold a motorbike to buy this, and it has been the best investment ever. It's given the most fun, the biggest grins, and the most adventures. I like going to visit new places. I know it's only a PeaBee, but I still go to places. I've been to Compton Abbas. I've been to various airfields around here, various airfields around where I live back home. Brown Shutters Farm, big shout out to Ben and Chris that fly from there. And this vehicle's taken me there, and it's just a grin factor machine. Okay, anyway, that's me pretty much wrapping up this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sorry I didn't get all the maintenance of the reassembly, but I just wanted to get the aircraft, the engine back together and back on the aircraft. And realistically, it took longer for me to get rid of one of the rubber mounts that did actually reassembling the airframe. Reassembling the drive mechanisms, etc. So they're fun to work on. I do enjoy working on Mosters because they're logical, they're simple, and they don't give you many headaches. All right, so wrap this video up here. Thank you for watching. If you've got any comments on my thoughts on the aircraft, on the engine, how I've gone through the process, please drop them in the comments, and I will get back to you. All right. So until next time, everybody, fly safe.